Under the watchful eyes of Sithis, a child was born, one to be shunned from her people and thrown into the wilderness, alone, cold, and desperate for acceptance. A true child of Sithis. None would live to tell a tale of an encounter with the Mountain Stalker. For this character, I wanted to go for more of an assassin type feel, so that's what I ended up doing. I'll tell you guys how I did it here. Starting with, of course, skills and perks. Okay, starting with skills and perks. The very first thing that I knew I was going to do was use daggers. So I decided to go for one-handed, and I took the 5 ranks of armsman in order to do twice as much damage. I then took fighting stance to perform power attacks for 25% less stamina, and savage strike for the same reasoning. Dual flurry just to increase my speed when I'm not sneaking around, because you'll need it, and then dual savagery for the bonus damage. I took light armor, and I went ahead and got 5 ranks of agile defender, and I also went for custom fit here because that's the type of armor that we'll be wearing, and it'll help us out. For sneak, just take absolutely everything. I went ahead and took backstab, deadly aim, and assassin's blade, all to increase damage while sneaking. I went and took muffled movement because the armor noise, the light foot, was just on our way up to silent roll. I got silent roll in order to execute silent rolls, silence to just reduce detection, and then I went ahead and took Shadow Warrior to help us while we are in combat. Okay, speech, don't take anything, just level it up. That's what I did anyway. Alchemy, I went ahead and took 5 ranks of Alchemist to make better potions. Physician, also to make better potions. And then I also went and took Benefactor to, of course, make better potions. Enchanting. For enchanting, I took Enchanter, all 5 ranks of it. Insightful Enchanter, just on our way up to extra effect. Corpus Enchanter, the same thing. And we went all the way up to extra effect. And that's the perk that I really wanted. Okay, for smithing, I took steel smithing. Then I went ahead and took arcane blacksmith because our mask will be magical and you'll need it to improve it. Then just go ahead and take all of the perks up to dragon's armor, including elven smithing, advanced armors, glass smithing, and then dragon smithing, because our daggers are going to be dragon bone daggers. So that'll be what mostly what we use smithing for, is our daggers. Okay, so when I was playing this character, I played it mostly as just a pure assassin. One thing that I would like to note is, against dragons and enemies like that, it's hard to really stay undetected. So that's why I decided to take the dual wielding perks, because it's just really useful to be able to go out of sneak in certain instances, especially against dragons. But for the most part, against like Draugr and other enemies of that type, like humans and Reiklings and, you know, pretty much anything other than dragons and Atronachs, go ahead and just stay in sneak. Even for some Atronachs, you can stay in sneak, such as Flame Atronachs and Ash Guardians. But yeah, basically what I wanted to do with this character was test out a little theory that I had with Orcs in particular, because Orcs have a Berserker Rage ability, and that, along with the Assassin's Blade perk, allows you to do 60 times damage for each sneak attack. But I did find that you would hardly ever need that, because most enemies are going to go down to a dual wield sneak attack. Most enemies will go down to a single sneak attack. Yeah, pretty easily, in my experience. I did find that Dragon Priest usually were the ones that you'd have to do with, you'd have to do a dual wield sneak attack for, and sometimes if you got like the jump on a dragon or something that was sleeping, you could pretty much get away with a dual wield sneak attack. But most dragons are going to spot you right away, so that's kind of irrelevant. I do want to mention that while you're making your way through dungeons and stuff, it is very, very important for this character that you pick up everything valuable. The reason being is you will need skill training for quite a bit of your skills, such as light armor and sneak and a few other skills that I found myself buying. Speech in particular was another one. You'll need the money for the skill training, because skill training can get quite expensive after a certain point. I most of the time found myself using my money for skill training in light armor. Okay, guys, I did want to talk about factions really quick, because for this particular character, I did use the main storyline in order to gain access to a few shouts. One of them in particular being Marked for Death and Elemental Fury. Each of those are quite powerful shouts in their own right, but when you use them together, it seems like they just are overpowered. I also wanted access to Dragon Rend when you're fighting dragons, and I also occasionally would use Whirlwind Sprint to get around. So that's mainly your reason for joining or doing the main storyline. You also can go ahead after that and just go straight into the Dragonborn storyline. The reason for doing the Dragonborn is to gain some Black Book powers. In particular, the very first dungeon that you do with a Black Book in it is going to give you an ability to be able to sneak attack without doing damage to your followers. And that's the ability that you're going to want. I can't quite remember what the name of it is. If someone can remember it, then please leave it down in the comments below for other people to find out. But yeah, you're going to want that power in particular. And it's done from the Black Book found in Bloodskull Barrow, or at the end of Bloodskull Barrow. And the final guild that I'm going to want to talk about is the Dark Brotherhood, but I will talk about that in a later section. So this little section here is going to be all about how you're going to deal with dragons. Because I don't know if you know this or not, but it's kind of hard to play an assassin against dragons, considering they basically see you every time you get near them. So here's a little example of a dragon fight. This is probably one of my longer dragon fights. If I must, if I was to take a guess, this would be one of the longer ones. So I actually got the jump on this guy, and this won't happen very often, but there will be occasions where the dragon won't be paying attention to you, and you can just sneak attack the living daylights out of him to get a decent jump start on your damage on him. So right here he is. He was just sitting up there waiting on me. So I just ran up and sneak attacked him really quick. Okay, so the very next thing that you're going to need to do is to either hook up Dragon Rend or March for Death, depending on what you want to do first. This occasion, I felt like I should probably get him on the ground first, because I wanted to be able to keep him from hitting me with Fire Breath, basically, while I had to load up Mark for Death. So this is just me looking around for where he went. So right here, I'm gonna hit him again with Dragon Rend to get him back on the ground because he got up, and he will fly over and land, and then I will hook up Mark for Death. Okay, now once he lands, usually I would just rush them and hit them with Mark for Death. I was trying to avoid hitting Shadow Mirror, but I ended up hitting him anyway, which it didn't matter. The dragon will get up then from the ground, and he'll probably fly around. Just let him do that because it weakens his life force. It makes him easier to kill, which is what we wanted from the Mark for Death shout. Hit him with Dragon Rend again, and I don't know if you guys know this, but there's no point in using any more than one word of power for the Dragon Rend shout. So just hit him with the first word, get him down on the ground. That way you can have your cooldown ready for Elemental Fury, and use all three words of this. Just use all three words in order to increase your attack speed with your unenchanted daggers. But they have to be unenchanted. That's the thing about this build. Here I'm going to show you guys some of my gears and weapons and such. Just the Dragonbone dagger in each hand, smithed up, is what I went for with this build due to the Elemental Fury. And then for apparel, I went for the Ancient Shrouded Boots, which muffles your movement. The Ancient Shrouded Gloves, which doubles sneak attack damage with one-handed weapons. I went for Forsworn Armor that I renamed, and I actually threw on some health regeneration and Fortify Health onto it. I went for a necklace with Frost Resistance and Sneaking. I went for a ring with Fire Resistance and Sneaking. I threw on a Thief Backpack from the Creation Club because it fit the look of the build, and then I also went and grabbed the Volsung Dragon Priest Mask to complete the build. For your poisons, you're just going to want to use a damage health poison occasionally, paralysis poison occasionally, and that's about it for your poisons. Now you can use Fortify Smithing Potions. I did personally because I wanted better armor rating, so that's a good thing to use. Then also your Fortify Sneak potions are very important for crawling around dungeons. Same thing for Invisibility Potions, great for crawling around dungeons, and Apocrypha. Go ahead and also make some Restore Health Potions for when you do get caught. Okay, so the final little place or faction, that you should join is the Dark Brotherhood. Being that this character is an assassin, this is the best option for her in particular. Nazir will provide you with some light armor training, which is absolutely fantastic because you will need a lot of it in order to make this build. So yeah, that's essentially the character. If you guys liked it, then please leave a comment down below, like this video, share it with your friends, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out.